Welcome to the Business and Interiors podcast, the place where the world of interior design meets the essence of business success. I'm your host, David Del Greco, alongside my co-host, Cinzia Moretti of the award-winning Moretti Interior Design Studio. Our mission is to help interior designers run, streamline, and grow their business with confidence. In this podcast, we dive into the professional journeys and personal stories of some of the most inspiring interior designers and creative entrepreneurs. Each episode offers a glimpse into the strategies and experiences that have helped shape their business in this ever-evolving industry. So tune in, get inspired, and join us as we uncover the stories behind the design. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we are joined by Brian Woulfe, founder of the award-winning studio Design by Woulfe. Since launching his studio in 2009, Brian has been captivating audiences with his luxurious design infused with a sense of playfulness for private residences, commercial spaces, and show homes around the globe. Brian, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you here, and after seeing you at Decorex, but we'll touch on that a little bit later on. Let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
What inspired you to start your own career
Business.
in interior design?
Well, it all happened by accident. I was actually in another creative field. I was a musician beforehand.
All right.
And there was a segue. There was an opportunity. I ended up in design. Never formally trained. All my training was on site, on developments, on projects. So it was learning the hard way, long hours on site, watching the electricians, plumbers, tilers, people doing the mastic, painters and decorators on site, and learning tips of the trade, and then picking it up as I've gone along. And I think the experience on site has given me an insight into the level of detail required, or the processes involved in getting the right finishes for our clients.
That's great. And so you started in 2009, and I guess obviously you learned quite a lot, you said, on the job, let's say. What other business skills did you have to learn quite quickly when you started?
Well, I've always run my own studio, so I've never worked in anybody else's studio. So I have no idea what the inside of anybody's studios looks like. I don't know how they operate. I don't know how they do their invoicing, their billing, their procurement. I don't know how they structure their teams. Everything that Design by Woulfe has been sort of made up as a process by myself, and it works well for us. As team members join, we learn from their suggestions, and they bring insights with them. So I think for me, it was trying to work out what processes worked for me as a designer, what allowed me to work more efficiently, because ultimately it's my business. I need to be able to communicate in a timely manner with my clients. And if using Excel over alternative online platforms, or InDesign over Photoshop works for me, then I have built the studio around the software, the processes, the equipment that works best to get the most out of my time.
Sure. And what's working well for you right now? You know, what kind of processes or systems you have nailed basically now?
I wouldn't say we've nailed any of them. I think we're always evolving. I think I'm spending less time doing any of the documentation in the background, so I'm reviewing stuff. So it's less about whether we're using InDesign or Photoshop, or we're using CAD or Vectorworks, or if we're using SketchUp or models. The team sort of dictate sort of what they want to use for the different projects, and they're always evolving as well. And they'll come every so often and they'll say, well, we want to try this piece of software because we want to elevate some renderings, or we want to elevate our presentation skills. And again, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm not opening the software anyway, so you sort of dictate what you want. Over the last 12 months, I've been trying to move away from managing any of the projects myself. So having team leaders within the office who run their projects, and I'm checking things as the client communication comes in to me, relaying it to the team, checking the work before it goes back out. And that seems to be working. I'm trying to be less of a micromanager and let people run with things and sort of go that way.
Did you find that difficult to delegate?
We're so busy that I didn't really have time to think about letting it go. I love spending time with the clients. I love spending time on site. I love spending time with suppliers and seeing what's out there, networking and bringing new business in. I love giving creative direction without imposing my own style on our clients, but also more importantly, without imposing my style on the design team, because they're also designers. Obviously, if I see something I don't believe is going to work, I'll say that, or if I have ideas, I'll vocalize that as well. But I haven't found it difficult to sort of step away and go, you guys need to run. There are moments where things go wrong and you're like, right, I need to step back in now and I need to take control over this, because ultimately it's our reputation.
Of course.
Everything comes through me. Communication comes to me from the clients. Communication goes back out to the clients through me. And if we start to drop a ball or something goes wrong, it's me who has to pick up the pieces. But more importantly, we want positive client reviews. We want our clients to refer us to their friends and their family, or to use us for subsequent and upcoming projects.
Yeah.
So it's important that the service we deliver is
top notch.
Is top notch. Yeah.
So going from a music background to interior design world, what did you find the most challenging on that transition?
I never did art at school properly. I mean, I had art classes, but drawing was the hardest part for me.
Yeah.
I still can't draw. No secrets. I tell everybody I can't draw. I can't use CAD. I can't use SketchUp. But I don't need to, because I have a support team for doing that. So, and in the same way, my designers don't do the accounts, and they don't do the marketing, and they don't do the copywriting, and they don't do the photo shoots. So everybody has their strengths. So I don't need to be there. I can still creative direct. I can still get my ideas across in different ways. I'm very good at pointing at things or suggesting, well, that could go here, or that needs to move 10 mil, or and I'm good at seeing detail. So I can read somebody else's drawings and I can say the balance is wrong, or things are in the wrong proportions, or they need to move. And I'm also, I think, good at sort of looking at things from a real life perspective and going, that's just not going to work. I don't want to have to reach here, or, things are in the wrong eye line, or, you're going to catch a light on your head as you walk down a narrow corridor. It's just small details like that. I bring the real life experience and the site experience and the handover experience to the design side of our business.
You find the balance.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Impressive. And how is your team structure now? How many people work in the studio?
So it
And what are they responsible
fluctuates.
for?
So at the moment, I think we're somewhere, I think it's 8 full-time in the office.
Okay.
And then we have a bunch of freelancers and contractors that come in and out for different special services, like lighting design or home automation, or for very big joinery packs that need to be designed. We used to have a much bigger team, and I reduced it massively. We don't have an in-house style, so it's not like we're producing projects that are similar all of the time. And that creates problems when having an in-house team, because if you're working in different styles, in different types of properties, in different locations, team members aren't always as quick to adopt new styles or to change their ways. Everyone has a style that they like to work to. If it's commercial or if it's residential, though 99% of what we do is residential. But if you're working on a Balearic Islands rundown shack that you're about to turn into a luxury holiday villa for a client, where you're working in different languages and designers and architects in a different language,
In different cultures as
and different
well.
cultures, and you're looking at proximity to the sea, marine grade stainless steel, hard wearing materials, easy to close down, properties empty for 6 or 7 months of the year, easy maintenance. And then you have other projects that are brand new builds in central London, or you're working on a condominium in New York where you're having to deal with the condominium bodies and approvals there and access. It's a very different expertise. It's a very different style of design. It's a very different way of presenting. So having a large in-house team doesn't always work. So I would prefer to be a little more agile and having a core team as the support, and then bringing in the support that we need in additional resources for different projects. I think it also protects us longer term. The markets can be quite scary, especially in the luxury side. While there's plenty of business out there and everybody seems to be busy, people get the shakes. They get nervous. They're like, oh, pause for a second, and that pause impacts on cash flow, how you run your business. So having a bit of agility and a safety net, and having a smaller team and a smaller office to maintain takes a bit of the pressure off.
Of course. And have you managed to build a design philosophy, even though you don't trying to adopt a particular style or particular genre?
Yeah, I think the design philosophy, and I say it to everybody in the office, is not every project is something we're going to photograph. Not everything we're going to photograph is a case study or something we would want to talk about. It's somebody's home. There will always be something in a project that we would like and would want to promote. There's always something in a project, that warrants a magazine or a newspaper spread or to be shouted about or an award entry. But we shouldn't be forcing a client to design for us to benefit from the marketing materials. We should be designing for the client's needs and the client's taste. And that's not always our taste. It's not always our design. They may decide to move away from our recommendations, however strong they might be. And it's our job to deliver what the client wants us to deliver. So the design philosophy is we're designing with the client in mind. And not imposing any of our own styles, not imposing our own functionality or views to the space, and giving the client what they want. Because ultimately, that's what we're here to do. We're a service provider. We're not here to have a glorified portfolio of stuff that we just churn out that benefits us, but it always ends up feeling a little soulless, doesn't feel like the client. And it's just something that we've done for marketing and website and photography purposes.
Of course. And how, as your Irish background influenced your design philosophy per se, or design principle?
I don't think it's influenced the design principles or the design philosophy. I think where the Irish background has come into play is more on client management and the gift of the gab, as we would say. Definitely kissed the Blarney Stone when I was younger. I think making people feel comfortable, being able to communicate with your clients, forging and crafting a healthy relationship at the start so that they feel comfortable talking about what they want to get from their home, that they feel comfortable texting you on WhatsApp and dropping you messages and dropping you emails and asking for calls at unusual times of the day and night. Because ultimately they have to feel like you're in their circle of trust during the period of this project and long after it, so that they can tell you what they really do need and what they really do want without feeling shy or embarrassed, or after you hand over telling you they don't know how to maintain something or they don't know how to use something or they don't it takes the embarrassment out of it. So I think the Irish side is more on the personality and communication and that sort of friendly.
They feel more at ease with you as well.
Exactly.
That's great. And
if you go back to the beginning of your journey in interior, now you have such a big team, you have your experience. What would you do different if you could go back?
Do you know, I don't think I would change anything. Everything that has happened has happened for a reason. The experiences I have, both positive and negative, the mistakes I have made and the things that I think I've done right have made the studio what it is. I love what I do. I love the studio. Yes, every day brings another problem. And yes, it is very stressful from time to time. But I never feel like I'm running a business I don't feel I should be in. I don't think by changing it would mean I probably regret something, but I just don't have the regrets with the studio.
I understand.
Yeah.
And did you start with luxury residential at the beginning?
Yeah. Straight in.
Why luxury residential?
It was the opportunity I was given. And
did you have a client that
wanted... someone asked for help on a project and it just spiraled from there. And it was like, okay, it was meant to be. I think you can always learn skill sets. I think I believe I had the innate ability to design or to see that things looked good together or that things looked in proportion. I think you refine those skills with experience. I think you then layer that with knowing what materials work together or the difference between one quality of wool and the next quality of the wool, or a painted paint effect or a metal effect, a painted metal effect rather, and a real metal effect. Those are things you learn, and anybody can learn those. But you either, I think, can design or understand that things look good together, or you don't. So the rest, I think, was just there.
And at what point did you bring in the team? Because you said obviously
very early on.
Each person has their own strength.
Yeah.
So and you had to learn quite a lot at the beginning yourself.
From the day one, I was
Okay.
engaging the support from architects to help with all the CAD work.
Right.
I had a drafts team that I was outsourcing to, and I had assistance from the architects to do the more technical stuff that I couldn't do.
So you were thrown into the job straight
Yeah.
away.
And I was like, got
Super
to learn.
resourceful.
Got to learn.
Yeah. It was like learning on YouTube. Not really, but yeah, that kind of, okay, don't say no, I can do this and get it done.
And it has been a project that was the one that make you change your career. They say, oh yeah, that's a project that really I can remember because it changed something in my career.
I think my first project in Asia, in Phuket, in Thailand, I think it was 2010, 2011, something circa then, was a holiday villa for an Australian couple, and they wanted to refurbish the place. They decided to use me. Thank you. And I was living in Thailand, working, and they let me run with it. I didn't have knowledge or experience of suppliers in Asia. I had the limited experience and knowledge I had already taken from my time working here in the UK, and we were bringing in specialist trades to do poured resin floors and from the UK, shipping all the materials. So all of a sudden, I was learning about shipping and customs and chemical forms and everything that you need to declare and the processes of the sequence of trades on site. And then it had a rather large joinery package. It was mostly custom furniture. So that project, I think, broke me, but also showed me that I could do it. Like, when you pull it all together, and that project went horribly wrong. Just before all the furniture was supposed to be delivered, one of the items that hadn't been replaced, which was on the top floor of the property, was the boiler. Because nobody thought there was anything wrong with the boiler. It was fine. The boiler sprung a leak on a Friday night or something, and flooded the whole house.
God.
And we had poured resin floors and wooden staircases, the whole thing. All the staircases had to come back out. All of the resin had to come back up. If you've tried taking a resin floor back up, with it all bubbled and everything. And that was, how do we, and that was, obviously it was nobody's fault. It just happened.
Yeah.
But then you've just imported everything from the UK with long lead times and flown a crew in to install it with all of their visas and work permits. And you're like, okay, now we've got to go back to everybody and ask them to do all this work again. And you've got to do it at a reasonable cost. So negotiating and talking to and saying, look, this is really unfortunate. What can we all do? And everybody stepped up to the mark. Everybody assisted where they could. Everybody did things at cost where they could. But I think that then added another layer to this project to say, okay, I can tackle anything now. If I have done this, I can build on this.
What was more challenging? The fact that you had to kind of replace everything in a short amount of time and not spending too much, or managing the client complaints and making sure that they still trusted you.
Luckily, there were. I don't remembe any. I may be rewriting history in my head, but I don't remember any complaints from the client. I think they were very much, it's annoying, but
Understanding.
It happens, and we just need to get on with it. Let's manage this as best as possible so that everybody gets out of this not losing money, and still being happy with the end result. I think we all learned a lot from the process. I learned a lot, and it just shows that nothing ever goes according to plan. They still don't. No project goes according to plan.
What is it? There is a quote: plan that something doesn't go according to plan.
But it shows how important are trusted suppliers.
Yeah, exactly. And I think working with people you have an existing relationship with, and trying having a relationship that's not just professional with your clients and your account managers, where it goes that little step further, so that you can lean on them when the going gets tough, and when there are problems that need to be dealt with.
Have you ever had any problems with suppliers? Sometimes they let you down. And,
lots. I'm pretty sure there are Instagram videos on some of them out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I've seen a couple. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
we
mention.
won't mention names on your podcast, but everybody's always, and I don't have I don't like doing that. I think I've only done it twice on two very big name suppliers. But everybody's keen for you to do reviews and to tag them when stuff goes well.
Yeah.
And then nobody's like, well, actually,
Accepts
why is everybody accepting this level of service from these big suppliers that are not just putting your clients' emotions, their budgets, their time through the ringer? They're putting your professional or your professional reputation on the line. Yet they still want you to give them more business, and so I think it's important for people to call people out as well. And you don't do it over one mistake or over one wrong email or one. It's when it's a sequence of lies and a sequence of mistruths or half truths or I think that and both of those companies actually went under, so it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't seen them.
Anymore, So there was a
Must
reason
be
they were
reason
getting
why.
called out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And at what point did you start designing show homes and commercial spaces?
Again, really early on. I think our first show apartment was 2010, 2011.
How did that come about?
Met a developer and asked, would you like to do one of our show villas? It was something in Asia as well. And I said, yes, why not? We did a really interesting one in New York, which was to dress a penthouse for a Manhattan developer in 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Design and install for a party in 3 weeks. Yeah.
No sleep.
No sleep. It was fine. Just flew straight into New York and then just begged
Everyone knocking at the door. So please tell
Literally,
me.
it was to Polyform, to Flexform, to Fritz Hansen, to Stark. I went from showroom to showroom to showroom and said, what can we have? And then you put on the table everything that's available, and then you design with what's available, and you make the best out of it. Because, you can always pull a design scheme together, and then you sort of,
And you learn from this.
Yeah. It was like how to work in short timelines. Yeah. And that was fun. Yeah.
That's great. And I also noticed on your website that you do property procurement, and I don't see obviously this service mentioned on many interior designers' websites. So
that has come from our clients and a request from the clients. So it's where we have designed a home for a client, and then they're about to buy a country house, or they're about to buy a seaside or a summer holiday villa somewhere, and they're like, oh, we just can't see anything that we like. And you're like, well, but then they go, we can't imagine what it's going to look like. It's fine. So why don't we go and you give us the brief, we'll find a selection of properties. There was one brief I was on 5 or 6 years ago. I think I looked at 30 properties and narrowed it down to, I think it was either 5 or 3. I think it was 3. Client flew in. We looked at 3 properties, got back on the plane, and he selected the one he wanted, and that was it.
Amazing.
And then, so all the groundwork was done, and the property looks nothing like it did when he saw it, but we were able to talk him through what the new interiors were going to look like, what the new layout was going to look like, where there would be additional volume, not just in square foot, but also in ceiling heights, where we were taking it to double ceiling heights, how we could reconfigure a space. Because when somebody's walking around this space, they don't know what's possible, but your design team does.
Yeah.
Or they have a good idea of what's possible.
Yeah.
And so that's where the property procurement side comes from. It's an add-on to the design. Obviously, we want to work with our clients on future projects, but if they're looking for something and they can't find it, they may very well have seen the property, but don't realize that they're excluding something for the wrong reasons.
Because they can't visualize.
They can't visualize it,
Yeah.
especially when you're looking at old farmhouses or barn conversions or rundown properties in the Balearic Islands, for example. You just don't know what's possible.
Yeah.
Or you go into if you want an apartment in London and you see a 4-bedroom, or you want a 2-bedroom apartment, but you want big living spaces. But nothing has the right square footage. You're like, well, great, let's look at 4 bedrooms and then take out 2 of the bedrooms and give you the living space that you want. So people don't think that way. So As a designer, you can. So it's just taking our skill set and going, okay, so if we wanted to achieve this brief, we need to find something that works, but then hits the location, price tag, style for the client. And I love doing that side of the work as well.
Amazing. It's like, what kind of strategies are worked for you in expanding your business?
I think making sure your clients are happy, because their friends or their family will come around for dinner or for a party or a housewarming, and the referral will happen naturally. Spending time with estate agents, with developers, that works really well. And also some of your suppliers will naturally bring you business. Make sure you ask for it. Talk to your suppliers. If you're working with a particular kitchen brand, or you're working with a particular carpet brand, they will have retail customers that show up to a showroom without a designer, but they very clearly need a designer. So make them aware that you would like referrals or the opportunity to at least pitch for work as well. And that works well.
I think one of the challenges that designers go through is trying to stay connected with the client after the work is done. And many know that the majority of the work comes from referrals or repeated business, but they struggle to maintain that relationship or connection with the client once they're done, basically. How do you deal with that?
Check in every so often. Great example, if they have kids and the kids were 5 years old when you handed over the property, check in a year later. Has any needs? Are they using the playroom or the craft room in the same way that they were? Do they need a bigger desk? Do they need a taller chair? You've gotten rid of the high chairs. We went for cheaper dining chairs because the kids were still in bibs and dropping their lasagna on the chairs, and they wanted something wipeable. Is it now time to upgrade that? They've got maintenance contracts with their home automation company. They've got maintenance contracts with their security company. They've got maintenance contracts with their contractor for snagging and painting and decorating. Touch base. How is that relationship going? Is everything okay? Have you had your annual service? Just little touch points. See what you can do. Has anything broken? Do you need something replaced? Things like reaching out. Not every client will have done all of the art in their house on day one because they run out of money, or budgets have been spread thin. And you're like, okay, there's the affordable arts fairs coming up, or Photo London's coming up, or there's an auction at Christie's. Do you want to go? We can get a drink afterwards. Or I have tickets to the previews. Do you want tickets? And I'll meet you there. And if there's something you like, then we can tell you where we see it going. They're all really natural and very easy ways to stay connected. Or go for dinner with them. I love doing that as well. Yeah.
That's a treat.
Yeah.
So let's move on to to your let's say controversial design
I know what's coming.
at Decorex.
Yeah.
How did that collaboration come about and that concept come about?
I did the entranceway for Decorex, or one of the entrance vignettes for Decorex back in Scion Park days. I can't remember the year. It was like 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And we've always joked about, and I've been doing lots of talks, panel discussions with Decorex over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And I've always joked about doing something different and something a bit nosy and something a bit controversial. To be honest, it's very staged. It's very commercial. It's very B2B. It lacks a bit of personality. It lacks a bit of creativity. Not the show itself, but sort of our environment and our industry. And we're supposed to be creative people.
Yeah.
We all love going to a cocktail bar. We all like going to a nice restaurant. Why do we have to go to a VIP lounge at the trade show and feel like we're at a WeWorks and sitting there to just do laptop? We should be using it as an opportunity to sit down and have a few drinks with our friends, let our friends, our colleagues, our peers have a non-work conversation and get to know people on a different level. So I also wanted to challenge people on working outside of their comfort zone. We have to be able to work outside of our own comfort zone for our clients' benefits. We're designing for them, not for us. What happens, and I use an extreme example of, if a client wants to talk to you about what happens in their bedroom or how they use their room, we shouldn't be bashful or ashamed about what happens in those rooms. A client should be able to vocalize what they want from it. And if they want something of a particular theme, then, we should be able to design for that theme. So we exaggerated the theme. We went for something a bit naughty, a bit risky. One, it's tongue in cheek. It's a bit fun. We wanted people to walk in and go, "Oh, I do feel uncomfortable." You wanted that initial reaction, but also then it gives them a bit of a gossip and a bit of a sort of, "Oh my God, have you been to the cocktail bar? Let's go and have you seen the plasterwork at the front of the bar? Oh my God, I can't believe that's at Decorex."
Yeah. It
But
sparks conversations.
Yeah, and then it stops them talking about work, and it makes them
That's true.
drop their barriers and talk about life, or it brings out their own personality to their peers, their suppliers that they might be meeting and greeting with. And I saw quite any of the negative comments, I got sight of them, and there were very few of them. I think if you talk to Sam and the team at Decorex, they will say it was an overwhelmingly positive response. And the few that came in were just about, there was no need to have lingerie hanging there. It's inappropriate. Or, why would you have that? And I was like, well, why not? We're doing a boudoir. The theme is boudoir. Did you not read the brief? Is your mind that closed? Are you saying you're not comfortable as a designer to work to another brief? Because it was a brief. We made up this fictional character, and it was her boudoir, and we worked to her brief and her requirements. It's like, you need to be able to push yourself, and we had a lot of fun. It was a challenge. Never again. Good luck to whoever does the VIP.
What do you say, sir? Was the challenges?
It's working on an event. I my hat off to anyone who works on events, especially something like Decorex, where you have the judgment of other designers watching you. You have a build up of, I think it was it 2-3 days we had to build. It was a flat floor. It's everything has to be built. Wallpapering, lights, carpet, stage, custom banquettes, the bar, the lighting, art hanging, everything coming in and everything coming out. And everything has to be done in a sustainable way where possible.
Yeah.
You're loaning furniture because you don't have budgets to buy furniture. Stuff that's made, you need to almost have designed it knowing where it's going for repurposing afterwards. You're trying to protect people's goods. It's a real uphill battle.
And you only have like 3 days to do
3 days
that.
to do it, yeah. And then a day, 24 hours to bring it all down. Less than 24 hours to bring it all down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was a really fun theme to work with.
Yeah.
Yes, the theme was dictated by us, and thank you, Decorex, for allowing us to do it.
Did they embrace the concept straight away? Or there were some
well, we had
back and
discussed it.
forth?
We had been discussing it for a number of years, to be
Right.
fair, and we felt that this year was the right year.
Right.
And no, I remember our first boardroom presentation on it at the Informa offices, and it was like, yep, fine, let's just go with it. If we're going to go for it, go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have gone a lot further on the theme and made it
A lot bolder.
a lot bolder, but we didn't. I think there was enough there to challenge people without it feeling too in your face. A lot of the objects were inside glass cabinets. You didn't have to go into the glass cabinets if you didn't want to, but also they were beautiful pieces of sculptural work in the cabinets. But it was it was lighthearted, tongue in cheek, let your guard down. So yeah, fun.
Good.
Sorry.
Go for it.
Go. Yeah.
You said that 90% of your work is residential.
Yeah.
But
99.9. Yeah.
0.9.
Yeah.
But now, with the experience of Decorex,
Yeah.
what would it push you as well to look for, clubs and restaurants where you can express?
We do get inquiries for it. I think it'll be when the right inquiry comes, like if it was a boutique hotel or if it was a really nice nightclub or a members club or something like that, that would spark interest from me because it has a stronger story behind it. I'm not sure that I have the passion for designing a hair salon or a nail bar. Never say never. Maybe there is a beautiful brief for one of them, but the more generalized ones, I think someone will get a lot more value from a different designer and someone with expertise in producing that joinery, those pieces of furniture, that equipment, then come to us where it's all new to us. But if you came with a story for a boutique hotel or a wonderful members club, then yes, I'd embrace it. It's like designing someone's house, essentially, with the function of F&B and service offering.
Yeah.
But that would excite me. It's more of a journey or a storytelling journey.
And where do you usually get your inspiration?
Don't know. It just happens. I'm a very social person, so I'm out and about. I do enjoy nice restaurants. I do enjoy nice bars, and if I get the time to travel, I do enjoy to travel. Terrible habit of sitting in bed looking through my Instagram both morning and night. So I'll see things, and I'm always capturing them, and sort of, like this, I think we could use something like this on this project, and it evolves. But the story that comes from the client often inspires the design and sort of the inspiration for the project. So I'll pick up on something
They decide
say,
that it
yeah,
sparks
and you're
right
like, okay,
away.
I know exactly. I went for a walk around for a potential new project yesterday. Popped in. If it's only for someone's living, I say only. Someone asked, could we help with a living room? It's like, absolutely. Booked in a meeting, walked in, looked through the property. Within 3 minutes of walking in the door, I knew exactly what
to do.
would work. And then as she was telling me the types of art or pieces of furniture, I was like, this is going to be epic. This will be an amazing living room. It'll be fun, something like we haven't done before. And like, yeah, polished metals and lots of texture. I was like, yeah, this is going to be a fun room to design.
Do you often tend to turn projects down if they don't kind of fit the criteria?
I think projects naturally turn themselves down or fizzle out. We get a lot of inquiries every week through the website. People asking for assistance on a home or a property that they're about to buy or have bought, and I'll ask for information, floor plans, images to see it, and then I'll take a discovery call with them. But ahead of that discovery call, I would probably suggest an estimated budget, or what they're looking at in terms of timelines or budgets, and then you never hear from them again. So I think they naturally filter
Select
themselves
yourselves.
out. They're self-selecting, and then the next layer is talking through it. And some clients aren't okay with the timelines that you're presenting, but I'll give it as fact. I'll be like, you're not doing this in 3 months, it's 9 months, or you're not doing this in 6 months, it's 18 months, or it's going to take you 6 months to get an LTA and your planning consents in place. So, and sometimes people don't like that answer, and they'll go with someone who gives them a different answer, but ultimately they'll end up back where you told them.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the luxury residential market is becoming more and more competitive as well. How did you stand out, especially when you started out?
It's definitely more competitive than it was. I think there's so much work in London. I think there's so much work in the UK, full stop. I don't think it's hard to stand out. I think your personality, how you approach clients will set you apart. And a client will naturally gravitate towards you or your team or your portfolio. And they'll select you if you are the right fit. So have a good website, have enough information, and I mean project images, enough about you up there that would even help with that natural selection before they reach out to you, so that you don't have to waste time getting to a point where, no, it's not a good match. Because if there's enough on the website that someone will go, you know what, we've been through 30 or 40 or 50 interior designers' websites, but we're reaching out to you because we really like what you do, then they've done the selecting. You should then be able to go into closing mode. You're a businessman, you sell.
Yeah.
So, or you're a businesswoman, you're a business person, you sell your services. You're a designer second. You can only design if you've sold a service.
Yeah.
And by sell a service, you have to sell the lifestyle. You have to sell, a scheme or a concept to your clients and a service offering. So you're then in sales mode, and sales mode is not, pulling the wool over a client's eyes. It's giving them facts. It's like, this is where I think your budget needs to land, but I can still work on a smaller budget if you want me to. But here's an example, and I'll often refer to the website or case studies and say, for X a square foot, that's the example of spec that you're going to get, but you have told me about all of these projects on my website that you really like, but that is this a square foot. So I can't work miracles. If you want that a square foot, and if you've got 1,000 square foot to work on, then you do the calculations and add your professional fees and VAT on top.
Yeah.
So, and then clients will go, okay, fine, it's either that or it's that, or they'll go somewhere else. But
Yeah.
you know, I think working through that stage, if they've naturally selected you, and then you can give them the information that helps them feel empowered to make a decision, either to walk away and go somewhere else,
Yeah.
or walk away and do further research only to come back again, or to make a decision at that point, then you've done your job.
I mean, sometimes selling is also about asking the right questions
Yeah.
at the very beginning. What kind of questions do you ask a potential client at the
Well,
beginning?
a bit about them. So are they buying it as a full-time resident? Is it an investment? Are they planning to leave within the first 5 years? Is it a buy to flip, or is it their forever home? Do they imagine themselves staying there for 10 plus years?
Yeah.
Because that then allows you to suggest a different level of investment into finishes. Have they got kids? How old are the kids? Are they planning to have kids? Are they single? Do they not want kids? Do they have pets? Do they have elderly parents? All of these type of getting a sort of a picture of your
Yeah.
client to start with really helps you then guide the next part of the conversation. How do you entertain? So if you have the picture of the family unit or the person that's going to be living there, then you're moving on to, well, how are you entertaining? Are the kids sitting at the dining table? Are the dogs sitting beside you? Do you have chefs in? Do you have a bartender in to help with your bar? Or are you the bartender and are you the chef? And how would you like, or how do you imagine moving through the property? Do you want them to come into the good room for drinks and a cocktail and then go into the kitchen, living, dining, or do you want a separate dining room? And you talk them through all the available options, and they go, oh my God, I hadn't thought about any of that. And I was like, okay, but these are the types of questions we need to start getting through to form a picture of what you need before we can start doing space planning.
Yeah.
Because the space planning is anchored based on what the client thinks their needs are. And then, so that's the question process before we then move into the design stage. And it's as much information as you can, conversation-like, not a questionnaire. I know a lot of designers send out, and I used to do it, big questionnaire pack. Nobody has time for that. If someone sent me that questionnaire, I'd be like, no, I'm moving on. I need someone who can just take it, a brief over a drink,
Okay.
over a coffee, by a quick telephone call or a Zoom call, or however they want to do it.
Yeah.
I take it. I don't need to take notes. I absorb it all in, and then I'll have a picture of who that client is, and then we design based on that.
So it's more like more a bespoke conversation,
Yeah.
So you might have obviously some questions
Yeah.
lined up, but it's all about
And
how
those
they-
questions get teased out anyway. So as long as you know your client,
Yeah.
and the purpose and the functionality of their investment first, and then their home second,
Yeah.
then you can start to build on the conversation. So you don't have to go back with going, do you like your kitchen counter at 890 or 900 or 910? You can make those assumptions
Yeah.
based on
What they
5'4"
say,
or 6'2".
Yeah.
And you can, and then when you make the presentations, like, by the way, we've set your kitchen counters at this height for this reason. Is that okay? Or the bed level, the headboard level is, or the height of the bed is slightly lower. And you can explain the reason without having, if you've got 15 years or 20 years or 30 years experience, rely on your experience. They're not designers. Guide them, but tell them what assumptions you've made and why you've done it that way. And if they want to fight back or they want to go a different way, they'll tell you. Yeah.
Amazing. Talking about entertainment, you seem to have mastered the art of entertainment, home entertainment.
Yeah.
I saw your Instagram profile.
The new Instagram profile that's doing. So we've separated our Instagram out. So the Design by Woulfe Instagram page is just now for finished photography. It's just a portfolio. So it's an easy tool for clients to access. They can flick through it and they see the pictures rather than going to the website to just go through project and click out and project and click out. So that's what Design by Woulfe has become. And then the Brian Woulfe page is more about behind the scenes, a bit of lifestyle, the dogs, and and cooking and bars. So we're trialing some new content, which is a series of 10 short reels on 10
Every
canapes every Friday.
Yeah.
And every second week is a cocktail, and every other week is a canapé, and so it'll run for 20 weeks.
I actually had a look yesterday
Yeah.
and I saw a recipe. I said, I'm going to have to do it again.
Yeah.
I'm going to, it's on my list.
And it's like, but we design all of these fabulous homes for clients. But who spends time telling them how to use it? So it's like you can sell them the dream of this lifestyle, but the vast majority of them haven't lived that lifestyle before.
Yeah.
So they're stepping up or into this aspirational lifestyle because they've worked hard, or business has gone really well for them. So give them that extra bit of, this is how you can do a dinner party, or host a dinner party for them at home and have them there so that they can see how to do it. If you've got a bartender, if you've got a group of 20, have a bartender, making the cocktails, and then have time to host your guests, or hire a chef if you're doing a dinner party so that you can host your guests.
Yeah.
Or if it's a more intimate family or friends, have them at the bar counter in the island, because if that's why you did a bar counter, so that people could converse, show them how they would do it and how they would lay it out, and let them imagine using it that way. So that was the purpose of that content. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's amazing because also, like you said, you can show that lifestyle, what it's like to live in that home, and it also shows that you understand their lifestyle too.
But also, it's then when we start talking about layouts of the kitchen and the design of the kitchen, it's why, and I think I said this on one of our Instagram videos recently, is like you can't design it for a client if they don't tell you what they need. So as a client, please tell us what you need from your kitchen, because otherwise we'll design something that's not appropriate for you. If you don't tell me that you're a professional chef and I assume you're just an average cook and you're probably doing ready meals or Uber Eats when you get home from work, I'm not going to design you a professional kitchen. I won't be putting a vacuum drawer in, or a sous vide bat in, or a rotisserie chicken oven, or plumbed in steam oven. But if I know you're going to use the equipment, then I'll step you up and I'll design something that really works for you. Otherwise, we'll keep it more appropriate for a basic or a more regular level of cooking and entertaining. So
that's great. Well, it sounds you had an amazing career so far.
Touch wood, it continues.
Yes, touch wood. And what does success mean to you? Or what's your definition of success?
I think as long as I don't feel like I'm coming to work in the morning, I will consider that successful. So it's like I can pay my mortgage, feed the dogs, and that I don't wake up in the morning and go, I really don't want to go to work today. Yeah, don't get me wrong. There are days that you do say that. But if that was happening more than once or twice a month, I think I would be worried. You get very stressful points, especially like on short deliverable timelines, or if you've got a bottleneck of things where some projects have been delayed and others have been brought forward, and there's a bottleneck, you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get through the next week or 10 days. That's normal. But if you're repeatedly feeling battered and that you're just not enjoying it, then I would say I'm not successful and it's time for a change.
And what would you say would be your dream job? What you really are calling?
I would love to do a really luxurious country house.
Interesting.
Where?
Members club.
Oh.
Yeah. That's
There are a few, and I just don't think. I think they can be better. I think there's some incredible members clubs in London. They're very varied. There's something for everybody. I don't think there's something for everybody in the countryside.
True.
And I think that there is a
market for it.
There is something there. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And if there was a person that you can thank for your success, who would that be, and what would you say to them today?
Oh God. I would be a more general rather than one person. I think the developers earlier on that gave me the opportunity to present my limited portfolio and experience to people buying their properties, I think believing in me or believing that I could deliver on it was what allowed me to get ahead and to gain the valuable experience I had. So telling the developers who sort of said, okay, we're not going to hire you directly, but we have no problem you presenting to people who are purchasing within our developments. I think they're the ones that sort of give me the leg up.
And what would you tell them today?
Let's go for a drink.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Brian. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
You
Thank
so
you.
Much. for tuning in. And if you enjoyed our conversation, feel free to share it with your friends. And if you wish to dive deeper into the business of interior design, we invite you to join our membership community at business@interiors.com. Until next time.